So digging into the news lineup, the much anticipated Windows 11 24H2 is finally out and available. That released on October 1st. There's a link in here to the Microsoft page if you want to check that out. Biggest thing to keep in mind with this is our kind of longest running branch that service-wise that you'll want to be aware of. It's service for 24 months and the Enterprise for Pro Edition and the Enterprise Edition for 36 months. So this is your ideal branch to start moving everybody towards. The second half of each year is typically where we get that longer servicing branch edition. And speaking of long-term service branches, for those of you who do use the LTSC, both Windows 11 and Office have released their 2024 LTSC editions as well. So if you do have kiosks, IoT devices, whatever else that does run on more of those LTSC branches, the new LTSC editions are available there as well. So check those out if that is something your organization uses. For those of you on the server side, Windows Server 2025 preview is also expected for MicrosoftIgnite in November. So take a look at that, see what's new and coming, and keep an eye out for that coming this next month. So that's the lineup of new editions from Microsoft that you'll want to be aware of. On the news side, the biggest one here, there's a couple of articles that were talking about some of the 0 days activities that were happening since last Patch Tuesday, some ransomware activity and other things there. Most of you are probably past the need to respond to those, but just so you're aware of some of the recent activities that have been going on there, some ransomware exploits and other activities that were happening there. So if that's something that if you're on, especially for those of you who might be on an N-1 for parts of your environments, just a good thing to be aware of. A lot of times right after Microsoft or other vendors release their updates, there can be a lot of threat actor activity against the vulnerabilities that were resolved. Typically, you start to see a kind of a ramp up in that first 14 days after an update is released resolving vulnerabilities. That's kind of the ramp up. And then usually, we see most of the activity that's going to occur, new exploits and things like that will have happened by that 14-day mark. Hence why many of you have a 14-day SLA. That's a lot of the security guidance that's developed here between 2016 and now. A lot of the trends have been pushing up to that type of frequency. The last article there is from this month, the Microsoft Fixes Management Console RCE 0-day. This one you'll want to be aware of because for those of you running Microsoft Config Manager, there is an additional step you need to do for this one. You do actually have to log into the Config Manager Management Console and do the in-console update process for this one to fully resolve CVE 2024-43572. So keep that in mind as you're going through these. You'll have an additional step there on the Config Manager side to fully resolve that vulnerability. Now, that article does talk a little bit about some of the concerns. There were, Microsoft has noted that there's been no indicators of compromise or telemetry regarding any exploits, but it's definitely one that they're suggesting people don't leave too long because it is able to be remotely exploited if they're on your network. And with that, it does give them, it's a fairly dangerous one if they do take advantage of it. So it was one of the criticals this month.